So I recently released a video called 5 Reasons to Drive a Lifted Truck. And in my opinion, those are all good reasons, especially number 5. But driving a lifted truck isn't all fun and games. It does have its downsides, especially if you use one as your daily. And here are 5 reasons that you may not want to drive a lifted truck. So reason number 1, and this is probably the biggest downside to driving a lifted truck, and this is probably the reason a lot of people don't drive them, and it's because of fucking gas mileage. Fuck my life. If you want to talk about gas mileage, do not bring up the subject of a lifted truck. The number 1 question I get asked about my truck is, hey, how many miles to the gallon do you get? The answer is very saddening and it hurts my heart. Generally I get 9 to 11 in city and 15 to 17 highway. Now, I've also recently taken my whole exhaust system off except for the cats, which gave me more horsepower because it gives you more flow, and it also takes your gas mileage down with it. I lost a little bit. I now get around 7 to 10 city, and I get around 14 to 16 highway. Yeah, it's a very, very it's a very shitty kind of deal here, and it does make me very sad inside. Whoop. Speed limit change. So reason number 2, parking. I cannot stress enough how fucking awful it is to park this goddamn truck. It's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It is some horse shit. Now, you get good with practice over and over again and how not to hit shit, but generally, when you first start, you're gonna be hitting shit. And it's very depressing. Like, to say the least. It's not the greatest maneuverable type of vehicle. And when I say that, I mean trying to park going in forward, just straight on parking, is a fucking nightmare. For me anyway, I can't do it. Now, backing up, that's a different story. I can back into just about any spot you give me. It's just parking forward like most normal people do is slightly much more difficult. We'll put it that way. So yeah, reason number 2, parking. If you're not good at parking, I wouldn't suggest getting a lifted truck. So reason number 3 that you wouldn't want to get a lifted truck is mostly the cost. It's not exactly the most cost-effective thing you can do. Now, if you get an older truck and you have the money to build it into a nice lifted truck, then yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. But the main deal is that you're going to be paying a lot when it comes to the upgrades. The suspension lift, the body lift, if you want a body lift along with that, the rims, the tires, it all adds up, and it is a very costly kind of deal. And honestly, it's, for some people, the cost might be, one of the things that deters them away. But at the same time, what you get is just, it's nice. And I know this is reasons to not buy a lifted truck, but the main reason, the main thing that I'm trying to get at here is if you don't want to spend a lot of money, I wouldn't go for a lifted truck. Because if you do, you can do a lifted truck the cheap route. But with the cheap route, you're giving up the needed quality that you would have to have everything work nicely and work good and not break on you. Because there's so many people who have lifted trucks that are cheap and they're just shit. They ride shitty, things break all the time. It's just not a good idea to go cheap when you go lifted trucks. So the cost would be one of the downsides of getting a lifted truck. So reason number 4 for not buying a lifted truck would be that the maintenance is a little more than if you were to have a normal truck, a stock truck. And when I say a little more, I mean it's a little more often versus a stock truck. And that's pretty much with any sort of modified car, lifted, lowered, you know, anything like that. You're gonna have extra costs because the stock parts you have on the truck that aren't part of the lift, so things like four-wheel drive axles, gearing, horsepower, all of that, a lot of the things that you keep stock whenever you first lift your truck aren't actually designed to be lifted. They're designed to work at the height that they were made at. And that leads to a little bit quicker wear on some things. It leads to sometimes more breakage if you're rough with it and you don't baby your car, which you don't exactly need to baby a lifted truck. I think if you baby a lifted truck, there's no point in owning a lifted truck. But at the same time, if you beat the ever-living shit out of it, it's not going to last anywhere near as long as you may want it to, and it's going to end up costing you more money. But in the long run, the maintenance is more frequent than if you were to have a stock vehicle, and that's another downside to having a lifted truck. So reason number 5. This one is not really a bad one if you're okay with lighthearted bullshit jokes, but the amount of compensation jokes you get after you get a lifted truck are pretty much every single day for the rest of your life, as long as you have the truck. I cannot tell you how many times people have seen my truck and have gone, compensating for something much? And it's just like, no, I'm not. You can fuck off. I'm comfortable with my dick size. You can kiss my ass. But, yeah, I mean, if you're okay with jokes, then you're fine. And if you have people that are your friends with that aren't assholes, you'll be alright. But if you do have asshole friends, which most of us do, that will be the first thing that they go to. So that's just a fair warning on that, and that is pretty much the last downfall to having a lifted truck. There's 5 reasons that you probably wouldn't want to drive a lifted truck. That's my list. I'm sticking to it. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all good reasons to not drive one, but the amount of fun that you have and the amount of people that you meet because you're part of the truck community is just amazing. Like, there's so many people that I've met, and there's so many different, like, great comments and everything, and, like, being able to sit here and talk to another guy just about your truck is, I don't know, it's a nice thing. I like it, and that's why I'm sticking with it. So, yeah, thank y'all for watching. This is Demonic Steel Productions signing off. Have a good day.